My Life and Loves, Volume 1, by Frank Harris. I was born on the 14th of February 1855 and named James Thomas after my father's two brothers. My father was in the Navy, a lieutenant in command of a revenue cutter or gunboat, and we children saw him only at long intervals. My earliest recollection is being danced on the foot of my father's brother, James, the captain of an Indiaman, who paid us a visit in the south of Kerry when I was about 2. The next memory must have been about the same time. I was seated on the floor screaming when my father came in and asked, "What's the matter?" "It's only Master Jim," replied the nurse crossly. "He's just screaming out of sheer temper, sir. Look, there's not a tear in his eye." A year or so later, it must have been, I was proud of walking up and down a long room while my mother rested her hand on my head and called me her walking stick. Later still, I remember coming to her room at night. I whispered to her and then kissed her, but the cheek was cold and she didn't answer, and I woke the house with my shrieking. She was dead. My mother died when I was 4, and soon after we moved to Kingstown near Dublin. When I was about 4 or 5, I was sent with my sister Anne to a girls' boarding school in Kingstown kept by a Mrs. Frost. I remember how the nearest girl in my class would lift me up and put me in my high chair, and how I would hurry over the sums set in compound, long division and proportion, for as soon as I had finished, I would drop my pencil on the floor, and then turn round and climb down out of my chair, ostensibly to get it, but really to look at the girl's legs. Why? I couldn't have said. One day I noticed a beautiful pair of legs on the other side of the table near the top. They filled me with emotion, giving me an indescribable pleasure. Up to that moment I had thought it was the thickest legs I liked best, but now that I saw several girls, 3 anyway, had bigger legs, but none like hers, so shapely with such slight ankles and tapering lines, I was enthralled and at the same time a little scared. I crept back into my chair with one idea in my little head. Could I get close to those lovely legs and perhaps touch them? Breathless expectancy. Next day I again crouched before the girl's legs, choking with emotion. I put the pencil near her toes and reached round between her legs with my left hand as if to get it, taking care to touch her calf. She shrieked and drew back her legs, holding my hand tight between them, and cried, "What are you doing there?" "Getting my pencil," I said humbly. "You're a funny little fella," she said, but I didn't care. I had had my first taste of paradise and the forbidden fruit, authentic heaven. I recall this incident at length because it stands alone in my memory, and because it shows that sex feeling may manifest itself in early childhood. I hadn't another sensation of sex till nearly 6 years later, when I was 11, since which time such emotions have been almost incessant. About this time, when I was 10 or so, we were all brought together at Carrickfergus. My brothers and sisters then first became living individual beings to me. One evening my sister Annie had undressed my younger sister Chrissy for bed when she opened her own dress and showed us how her breasts had grown while Chrissy's had remained small. I learned nothing from this happening. I had hardly any sex thrill with either sister, indeed nothing like so much as I had had before through the girls' legs in Mrs. Frost's school, and I recalled the incident here chiefly for another reason. One afternoon about 1890, Aubrey Beardsley and his sister Mabel, a very pretty girl, had been lunching with me in Park Lane. For some reason or other I had elaborated the theme that men of 30 or 40 usually corrupted young girls, and women of 30 or 40 in turn corrupted youths. "I don't agree with you," Aubrey remarked. "It's usually a fellow's sister who gives him the first lessons in sex. I know it was Mabel here who first taught me." I was amazed at his outspokenness. Mabel flushed crimson. Aubrey caught my eye at the moment and remarked maliciously, "Mabel was my first model, weren't you, Mabs?" I was in love with her figure. Her breasts were so high and firm and round that I took her as my ideal. I took from this little discussion that most men's sisters are just as precocious as mine were, and just as likely to act as teachers in matters of sex. While schooling at Carrickfergus, I met Strangeways. Strangeways had hair about his private parts, and when he rubbed himself and the orgasm came, a sticky milky fluid spurted from Strangeways' cock, which he told us was the man's seed, which must go right into the woman's womb to make a child. Girls love kissing, he said, and so I kissed her and put my leg on her, and her hand on my cock.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?